Good morning, Kunal. Good morning, Aditya. Good morning, Chandrasekhar. Good morning, Siddesh. Good morning, Arish. Good morning, Elroy. Good morning, Adesh. Good morning, Pratham. Good morning, Ritesh. Good morning, Vedant. Good morning, Shreyas. Good morning, Aditya. Good morning, Ajay. Okay, let's recap what we have gone through. Good morning, Arish. Fine. So we have considered yesterday the export during the Indus civilization. So what were the things which have been exported? So agriculture products, then cotton goods, terracotta figurines, pottery, ivory products, copper. So these were the items which you can consider were for the purpose of export, right? So, but to this civilization, the iron was not known, right? So iron was not known to the Indus civilization, right? So you can always consider in. So question can be asked as like which of the following was not known to the Indus civilization. So always have an habit of reading question carefully. Here question is which of the following is not known. The question is not for what is known. It is for what is not known, right? And obviously you can consider uh, so whether they were knowing the alloys, whether they were knowing the copper, whether they were knowing the metals such as zinc, lead, tin, right? And the last one, last option is obviously iron. So your answer will be again iron, right? So these are some of the things you can always consider in, right? Then Harappan civilization, right? You can consider the people of Harappan civilization were the earliest to produce the cotton, and the cotton was known by the Greeks as sindan, right? So, as there was no evidence of the coins, so it is considered that there must be a normal method of exchange of the goods, right? So, uh, goods ke badle goods, a kind of method must have been there. So we have considered a city called Lothal, which was known as the ancient port of the Indus civilization. Right. So the ruling authority of an Indus civilization must be to the class of merchant. So merchant must be the rulers, right, or authority of ruling must be to the merchants. Then Harappans don't know the worship, right? Therefore, no temple you can have, but they were uh, uh, what we can say, but the idea of the religion, idea of Harappan religion can be uh, from the statues or the figurines they have at their homes, right? So we can always consider the statues and figurines by which you can come to know about their religion. So commonly found figurine you can consider is the mother goddess, right, which is also known as Matri Devi or Shakti, whereas the chief male deity, right, that was a female deity you can consider. So chief male deity is Pashupati Mahadev, who is termed as the lord of animals, right? So he was always represented in a yogic posture, surrounded by four animals, right? As elephant, tiger, rhino, buffalo, and two deers at his feet. And therefore, this kind of worship is known as Shiv Shakti worship, which is known as the oldest form of worship. So they have also worshipped Zulatry, that is worship of the animals and the trees, especially people trees. Right? Even if you have keenly observed, even around you, even today, people, some of the people who are worshipping the people trees, right? So you can always consider the worshipping of people trees, the trees, and nowadays we are worshipping Jal, right? We are worshipping the animals, Bailpoda, right? Jal Puja, आता सगळे तलाव भरले. So these are the different things we can have. Anyway, so again, the evidence of pictographic script, right? Which was not deciphered, but it was there, right? So such kind of writing was considered as Bostropheden, right? Which is always starting from right to left and then left to right and again right to left and left to right and right to left and left to right, right? So uh, right to left on each alternative line you can find it out, or left to right on each alternative line, right? As the Proto-Dravidian. Now, the oldest script of is considered as the Harappan script, whereas the oldest deciphered script is the Brahmi script. Right? Though the Harappan script is the oldest script, but it is not deciphered, and therefore, as far as deciphered scripts are concerned, the oldest deciphered script is Brahmi script. Deciphered, vasta sorry, code. You could decode there what exactly it is. Fine. So Harappan civilization was knowing the complete burial process, and that had been common, right? So burial process was common. Then the origin of swastik symbol, right, is considered in this particular culture or civilization. So the makers of civilization can be considered as Dravidians, or Dravidians are the makers of the Indus civilization. Right. So what were the contemporary civilizations of the Harappan civilization? So Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China were the contemporary civilizations. Right. So as I said, the archaeologist or the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, Sir Wheeler, young Wheeler, right, Mortimer Wheeler, whose name, his complete name you can consider, Sir Robert Mortimer Wheeler, said that Indra is accused of causing the decline of Indus civilization, and then Indus civilization declined. Fine. So that is the case you can consider. But this during this period we have considered the Vedic culture, right? Now as I said, see, in history you are going to consider a period, certain period. So here you are considering a period called Harappan civilization, right? And within that particular thing, you will be always having four aspects: cultural aspect, rather. First, you can consider about the administration, that is polity. Second, you can consider is agricultural, that is related to economy, right, or trade. And third, you can consider about the culture, right? So, and sorry, okay, culture, and last one you can consider the society. So we have also gone through the Vedic culture, right? So rather we have started Vedic culture. So origin of the home of the Aryans is considered, right? Though there is a controversy that they have migrated from Central Asia, from Europe, from Arctic region, right? But or they were native to the soil of India, but according to the popular belief, right, they have migrated from the Central Asia, and it was strongly believed by most of the scholars or the researchers we can consider. So, but their migration, if they have migrated, then they must have migrated into several stages, right? Somewhere around 2000 BC to 1500 BC. So what is the evidence of their migration? So there is an inscription called Bogaskai inscription. Bogaskai inscription, who mentions 4 Vedic gods, which proves that the Central Asia theory of homeland. Right? So Indra, Varuna, Mitra, and Nasatyas were the 4 gods you can consider. Right? If they have come to India, then where they must have settled? So they must have settled in the Punjab, right, or across the rivers. So that particular part is called as Sapt Sindhu, and they must have lived there for centuries. And then gradually they must have pushed into the valleys of the Ganga and Yamuna, so that you can consider. Right? So in the same period, we have to consider Vedic literature. Right? So that was the part we have started. So there are 4 different kinds of Vedic literatures called the Vedas, which is also known as Samhita, right? Then the Brahmanas, then the Aryankas, right? So I think to this point we have reached, right? So the 4th one is considered as the Aryankas, and then later on you can consider Upanishads. Fine. So here Aranyakas, sorry, not Aryankas, Aranyakas, and 4th you can consider the Upanishads. Fine. So the Vedas, right? So there were 4 Vedic literatures in the form of Vedas, in the form of Brahmanas, in the form of Aranyakas, and in the form of Upanishads. So what each of these that you have to consider, right? Simple thing. So Vedic literature had grown up in the course of time when the Aryans were living in the Punjab, right? So it must be while they were living in the Punjab. So at that time, the Vedic literature must have grown up, right? And how it had grown up generation to generation. The second part of growing up, which or passing out from first generation to next generation, right? So it was always handed down from generation to generation by word of mouth, tondi. So hence these are called shruti, right? So these Vedic literatures are called shruti, right? So you can consider if it is handed over by the word of mouth. इथे एक मेसेज आपण 60 मुलांमध्ये फिरवला तर तो ओरिजिनल वेगळाच असतो, 60व्या मुलाला पोहोचलेला वेगळाच असतो. So this has been transferred, or this has been delivered generations to generations orally, right? So you can, but there must be some differences, right? That at that time there were no so many distractors, or we can consider the genuineness of the human beings, right? So hope that whatever we have considered or whatever we are hearing is not having much more difference than the actual one or the originated one is. Anyway, so this is called Shruti. So Shruti, that is here, to hear. So the most important Vedic literature among these is Vedas, which are also called as Aparshaya, right? Aparshaya, that is not created by man, but God gifted, right? Not created by man, but God gifted is nothing but Vedas. And Nitya. So Vedas were also called as Aparshaya and Nitya. So Nitya stands for existing in all eternity. Existing in all eternity. Ananta kalapasun existed, right? And Aparshaya is not created by man, but God gifted, right? So Vedas were known as Aparshaya and Nitya. So there are 4 Vedas: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atarveda. Right? So the first 3 Vedas are jointly called Veda 3. You can call it as trio of Vedas. Trio of Vedas. So if you consider of these 4 Vedas, the Rigveda, right, which was believed that it was composed while the Aryans were still in Punjab, is nothing but the collection of the lyrics. And it is the oldest text in the world, and therefore it is also known as the first testament of mankind. First testament of mankind. Fine. So that is what you can consider about the Rigveda. The Yajurveda is nothing but a book of sacrificial prayers. Right. See, here your duty is not to look into what exactly in detail the Yajurveda is there, or the Samveda is there, or Rigveda is there, right, or Atarveda is there. No, but you can know what exactly by virtue of knowing it, right? What exactly it is. So Yajurveda is nothing but a book of sacrificial prayers. So it is a ritual Veda. Fine. Then Samveda, which is a book of chants, mantrocha, right? So that is the case you can always consider. And obviously, the Atarveda, which is nothing but a book of magical formulae, right? Book of magical formulae, and which is the fourth and the last one among the four Vedas. So this is always containing the charms and spells, right? Of charms and spells toward the evils and diseases, right? So what you can always consider, right? This one. Then later on the Brahmanas comes. So first I will write down something about the Vedas, right? So in general, the Vedic literature, right? So in general, Vedic literature grown up, right? Generation to generation, right? Grown up by, right? Grown up, handed by generation to generation, right? Generation to generation by word of mouth. Word of mouth. Fine. And therefore, it's called Shruti. It's called Shruti. Right. So this is nothing but to hear. Fine. So now what these four are, right? So the most important among the literature, Vedic literature, right? So Vedas are most important in Vedic literature. Fine. So Vedas are most important in Vedic literature that you can consider. So they were also called as Apar, A-P-A-U-R-A, Apar, share, right? The meaning of this is not created by, right? Not created by the man, right? Not created by man, but God gifted. God gifted. But it is God gifted. And second name, right? Second is called, Vedas are also called as Nitya. Right? Second is called Nitya. So Nitya stands existing, right? Existing for existing in all eternity. So eternity is Anantakal. समजून घ्यायचं असेल इटर्निटीचा अर्थ अनंत काळ, फार काळापासून. सो एक्झिस्टिंग इन ऑल इटर्निटी. फाईन. सो if you consider, so there are 4 Vedas, right? So 4 Vedas. So first one you can consider always the Rigveda. Second you can consider is Yajurveda, and third one you can consider Samveda, and the last one is Atarveda. So among these, right, so these first three are jointly called Veda Trayi. Veda Trayi. Right. So that is trio of Vedas. Right. If someone wants trio of Vedas. Right. So first 3 are called commonly known as Veda Trayi, or the trio of Vedas. Right. So what each of these? So among these 4, right. So first, if you consider collection of lyrics. So oldest text in the world, right? And therefore known as the first testament, of mankind, right? The first testament of mankind. Right. So this is what you can always consider about Rigveda. Second Veda is Yajurveda. Yajurveda is nothing but a book of sacrificial prayers, right? Samveda, Sama. Right. Yajurveda is a book of sacrificial prayers. Sacrificial prayers. Right. So it is a ritual Veda. Right. So it's a ritual Veda. Fine. So you can fine. If anybody wants, you can. Okay. Fine. So next one after Yajurveda, right? You can consider the Sam Veda, right? Sam Veda. So it's a book of chants, book of chants, right? And the last one is Atarveda. Atarveda. So it is a book of magical formulae. Mantrochar, book of magical. Right. I talked about this one. Chants. Right? Magical formulae. So book of magical formulae. Fine. So again in this, you can consider Atarveda, which is the last Veda, or you can consider the fourth Veda, right, which always is about the evils and diseases. Right. So it is about okay, done. Fine. So so this is what you can consider about the Vedas. Fine. Now, so it contains the data, right, which you can cause right, to ward off the to ward off evils and diseases. To ward off evils and diseases. That is what the contents in the Atarveda you can consider. Then later on, the each of these Vedas are containing some kinds of hymens, right? So